Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining Mentorship to Drive Talent Development, hosted by Talented at the Detroit Regional Chamber. Talented is the premier business-led talent develop initiative for Southeast Michigan, empowering employers and higher ed institutions to develop tomorrow's talent now and create a more prosperous future for our region. I'm Christy Taylor, the Senior Director for Employer Engagement at the Chamber. My team brings resources and strategies to businesses to help them play a more active role in developing talent. One of those strategies is mentorship, and today we'll share more about how employers can get involved in mentorship programs, the benefits to both companies and mentees, and a great tool that makes mentoring easy and safe for employers to take on. To moderate this conversation, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Erin Walker, our Director of Employer Engagement, who is going to lead a great discussion, and we're really excited to feature this great group and to have you all with us. So thanks again for joining, and I'll turn it to Erin.
Hi, everyone. Like Christy said, we're really excited to have you all here with us today. I won't be doing as much of the talking. I'm really excited about the people we have joining us today. And I'm going to kick it off and ask if Michael could kind of start off with our introductions.
Hi, I'm Mike Corey. I'm the Regional Program Manager for CareerSpring. Really excited to speak with everyone today. We've brought 3 of our outstanding students and 1 of our wonderful advisors to join us as well. So I'll ask the students to introduce yourselves briefly. Cameron?
I can start us off. Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Henry. I'm a senior at the University of Michigan, majoring in organizational studies and a minor in business administration. I'm expected to graduate in May of this year. I'm very excited. After graduation, I will be attending a 1-year master's program, a master's of management through the Ross School of Business. After graduation in 2026, I have the aspirations of working in supply chain, logistics, or something in the business management realm.
I can go next. My name's Eric. I'm a senior at the University of Michigan studying business, and I'll be working in finance. I'm also one of the ambassadors for the CareerSpring program.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Himani. I'm a sophomore at the University of Michigan studying psychology with a focus in business. I'm also a CareerSpring ambassador as well as a mentee. And after graduation, I am probably going to go to grad school, but I'm still a sophomore, so I'm figuring it out.
And I'll introduce myself. I am Tara Palmerton, contrary to what my little name says there on the screen. I worked at Surgical Note as the Director of Human Resources, and we sponsored a career forward program is what they call it for the interns. So we had 3 interns over the summer, and I'm also an advisor and mentor for CareerSpring.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your introductions. Just to give everyone who's watching just a little bit about what the flow is going to be like today, we're going to split this Q&A and this panelist interview up into 2 different segments. First, we're going to dive in just talking a lot about what Tara's role as on the employer end and what Michael does in CareerSpring and how that relationship kind of melds together. And then for the second half of this, we're going to get a chance to hear from our students and our students who are participating on this panel. I do want to provide a little bit of housekeeping information. Himani does have to step off a little bit earlier because, as you all know, they are students and we do not want her late for class. So just to give you a heads up, if we do lose her screen, that is because we want to make sure she's on time for her class that starts pretty soon. And to kick this all off, Michael, if you can kind of just share what CareerSpring is and how does it help companies who are interested in mentorship?
Great. Thanks, Erin. So first off, CareerSpring, we're a nonprofit organization. We're a 501c3. And our mission is really to support first-gen, low-income students through college to the start of a really successful career. In terms of definitions, we define first-gen as neither of your parents graduated from a 4-year college in the United States. And we define low-income as if you're in college, you're Pell Grant eligible. So if you meet one of those 2 criteria, we welcome you to the CareerSpring family. There's no other consideration, whether it's race or gender or anything else. It's those 2 criteria. So that's what we want, who we want to serve. I began work in this area back in 2008 at Detroit Cristo Rey. So for over 15 years, I've been talking to human resource managers, and they've consistently said there's a talent gap It's really hard to find talent, and it's really hard to get access to highly qualified, diverse talent, which we realize is important to our business. So on the demand side, there's a shortage. I've also been working with first-gen low-income students, and the data is pretty clear. First-gen students are way more likely to graduate from college and be underemployed than their peers whose parents went to college. So on the demand side, there's shortage, and on the supply side, we have all these wonderful people who are not being fully utilized. So CareerSpring is trying to bridge that gap. And we do that through supporting our students in a number of ways. We try to provide them career information from a variety of sources, including videos made by people like you, a 7-8 minute video, what it's like to be an automotive engineer, what it's like to be a registered nurse, what it's like to be a human resource professional. So we give them that information. We try to connect companies who want access to this talent with students who are looking for entry points into internships or careers. But the third way that we help them, and this is the part I get really excited about, is we have a network of about 1,600 volunteers who serve as advisors. And this means they have volunteered to have a 30-minute virtual conversation with a student to share their experiences, their perspectives, their advice, the type of advice they would give to people that they care about, and hopefully to even share their network, people who would benefit from meeting our students and can hire them for an internship or an entry-level job. So that's what we're trying to do. We're a young organization. It started nationally in 2020, and we came to the Detroit market in 2023. So that's an overview of CareerSpring.
Thank you for that. Michael, I'm going to actually now pass it over to Tara. And if you can share as a mentor or using the proper wording, I'm an advisor, what it's like as you're providing this amazing benefit to students that you're working with. Can you share how that relationship has benefited you?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. So first of all, the program itself and the website for a student to ask for that mentorship meeting is really user friendly. You just get an email that pops up, asks you if you're available at that time. You can either say yes or choose a different one, and then it coordinates everything for you to meet with them. So that part is really easy. And then being able to meet the different students has been just absolutely fantastic. We hosted those 3 interns over the summer. We actually extended offers to some of them to continue on because it was so beneficial, not only for them, but for our company to have them on board. And it's just been an overall amazing experience.
Michael, if you could share, how do you ensure how that mentee matching takes place? How do you make sure it aligns with the needs of the students and kind of how the employer can best support them? And Michael, you are on mute.
There we go. Thank you. Whether it's a student or an advisor, the first step is to build a profile. And it's a pretty simple process, 5 or 10 minutes, a little bit about your background for an advisor, very similar to what you would put on LinkedIn. And then we have an algorithm that'll say, well, based on the experience and the goals of the student and the experience of the advisors, these are who we think would be good matches. So we have that as a starting point for the students in the matching process. Then the students also have the ability to do a search. They can go through and say, I would like to speak to somebody from Henry Ford Health System because I've always wanted to work there. Or I have an interview coming up with General Motors. Maybe there's an advisor from General Motors, and this would be great prep for my interview. So it begins with the profile that the advisor and the advisee build, but then the students have the ability to do a sort on that as well.
I'm going to jump in here too. For the internship program, they had said that CareerSpring had said that they were going to place the interns for us. So we weren't a part of that interview process. And being a part of HR, that sounded absolutely terrifying just to have some people show up on the first day. But they matched so perfectly. They were able to jump right in on their first day and were so eager to learn more. So I'm glad that I trusted the process.
Thank you for sharing that perspective. I think that's an amazing way to kind of see how both sides are kind of working hand in hand and how it's definitely benefiting everyone at the table. Speaking of everyone at the table, could you also talk about how this mentorship takes a role in addressing equity and in access to career opportunities, especially for underrepresented students, particularly from those coming from the Detroit region, and how you could possibly see other employers also getting involved?
Yes. So as I mentioned, anyone who's first gen, anyone who's low income can be part of CareerSpring. The fact is, about over 80% of our advisees are Hispanic, are Black, or are Asian. So you're connecting with a really talented and diverse pool of candidates. So I know there's a lot of nervousness about DEI right now, but I have not spoken to anyone in HR in 15 years that hasn't realized the value of having a diverse group of candidates and a diverse group of employees. So we think we can help connect them. And what happens so often is these students are missing the network that maybe their parents can provide if their parents are working in Fortune 500 companies. Our students are missing that. But this advisor piece can help them get that social capital, can help them get those introductions, and can give them the ability to get the job that they deserve for the education that they've earned.
Tara, if you wouldn't mind just jumping in and also sharing from an employer perspective, how that impacts what you do.
Definitely. The disadvantage that first gen students have is definitely impactful on how they're going to progress through the career world. It's like going to the airport. If you had a parent that showed you and guided you through your entire life on how to navigate the airport, find your gate, what to do with your bags, you're going to know what to do. But if you're someone that just gets thrown into it, you're not going to know all those little steps, and it's going to be absolutely terrifying. You're going to be at a disadvantage. So having those interns, being able to mentor some of them, it gives them that next step up. They can get connected to my network, any of the other advisors' network. They can also gain that valuable information on things that they can do to progress in their career.
Michael, Tara talked about how when the students showed up at the first day, everyone was ready and prepared to jump right in and go. What kind of training or support does CareerSpring provide to those students to help them succeed in these roles?
Well, we try to provide advice to both the students and the advisors. In terms of the students, a really powerful thing is just these advising sessions, these conversations that they're having with professionals who are sharing their experience, who are sharing their advice. So that's really powerful. We also offer throughout the year a series of lunch and learns for students to drop in. The topic might be how to prepare for a behavioral interview, or how to prepare your resume, transitioning from school to work. So students have the opportunity to do that. It's really the networking and these conversations that I think makes a huge difference for our students. And later on, we'll ask our students to share that, but I think hopefully they're going to share the same experience.
That's perfect. Thank you for sharing that. We're about to kind of transition to the second half of this and giving you all a chance to really hear from the student voice and in their experiences throughout this entire program. I do want to have a slight pause. I don't know if there are any questions or comments in the chat. Chrissy, please let me know if there's a chance that we need to kind of just take a quick break to see if anyone has something specific to the role of CareerSpring and partnering with employers throughout this process.
Thanks, Erin. No questions in the chat yet, but I'll just take this opportunity to remind folks, we have a lot of people on the call. So rather than having people go off mute, if you do have questions as the conversation progresses, please drop those in the chat. This is fairly informal, as you see, so we can interrupt and make sure your question gets addressed in real time. And we'll also have some time at the end. So if you have, here's a question right now. Michael, can you just remind folks, what are the two sort of criteria to be eligible for CareerSpring?
Yep, the two qualifications, and it's an either or. We want you to be a first generation college graduate. And for us, we define that as neither of your parents graduated from a four-year college in the United States. That is the first criteria. And then the other criteria is, or you're a low-income student, and we define that as you're Pell Grant eligible at your college.
Thank you. Another question, what's the time frame for the mentorship?
Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about what it means to be a mentor or an advisor. First off, I always kind of like to level set this. If a person volunteers to be an advisor, I tell them par is about 1 or 2 requests a quarter. Okay, so it's not a heavy lift in terms of how often you're going to have a virtual conversation. With one caveat, if you work for Google, you should expect to get a request every week. But for most people, it's 1 or 2 requests a quarter. Then we help you set up your profile. We have a woman who manages the advising portion of our platform, does a wonderful job. She'll help you set up your profile. She'll help prepare you to have how to have a really great conversation with the students. But really, the conversation is just natural. You're just talking about your experience. You're talking about your perspectives. What advice would you give someone you care about? That's really what we're trying to do. We're also sharing the feedback with you that you get from the students. And in 2024, 99% of the time, our students gave the advisors 5 stars. I know people who'd give money away for free that don't have a 99% approval rating. So both the students and the advisors really enjoy this conversation. At a minimum, it's a 30-minute conversation and that's it. However, most of the advisors say, let's stay in touch. And most of the advisees realize I should stay in touch. And so it's really open-ended, but it's really initially a commitment for a 30-minute conversation.
Thank you. And just, can you clarify, it sounds like there are multiple pathways to engagement with CareerSpring. Tara's talking about internship placement, which is a bit more of a lift for an employer. And I think that's what we're all aspiring to, but a bit more work to get off the ground. But there's also the mentorship advising piece, which is probably a bit easier of an entry point for companies. Can you just talk about the various ways that people can engage?
Absolutely. So there's several ways. One is, I mentioned earlier, we have a video library. So we welcome people to make a video and we help guide you through it. It's a 6 or 7 minute video, most of them made on their phones. So it's kind of a personal conversation. What it's like to be. Many of our kids, what's an actuary? I don't know. So, hey, what it's like to be an actuary, what it's like to be a registered nurse. And maybe you're a registered nurse in a hospital. Maybe you're a traveling registered nurse, whatever the case might be. So you can make a video to give students more information about those careers. You can become an advisor, as we've talked about this morning, which we really value and which I really think is gold for our students. Then you could also post your jobs, your internships on our site, your entry-level positions for students on our site. You can do that. And then after you've done these things, say, this organization is so great, I would love to send you money, and I will help facilitate that process for you as well. So there's really lots of different ways that people can engage with CareerSpring to support the students.
Thank you for that. There are a few more questions in the chat, but we want to give our students some time to speak with you. So I'm going to hold on to those. We'll address them at the end of the session, but I know some of our students have class, so want to make sure they get a chance to talk. So we'll pick back up those questions at the end. I have them in the chat. We'll make sure they get addressed.
Thank you so much. Tara, at one point you definitely mentioned about the CareerSpring, the summer program, the internship opportunity for students, meant Forward, I believe is what is known as. And you shared kind of what that experience is like hosting those students. I want to give Himani a chance to tap in and share about what her experience was like, because I know you had a chance to participate in the internship program. So just give us a little overview of what that was like from you.
Yeah, so it was honestly sort of like a breakthrough in my career in a way because I entered college thinking I wanted to go into psychology and I wanted to be somewhere in a therapy. However, after that experience, it was a 3 week, very brief but very, very insightful experience. And I got like the insight into the corporate world and how it really works. And I realized that that's something I definitely see myself doing. So after that experience, I got so much amazing mentorship. I learned so many skills that I would have never learned like outside of that. So it was definitely like a point for me where I realized that I definitely want to be in the corporate world. And forward, it was like the name, like it definitely forwarded my like career journey. So it was such an amazing experience and it was truly really, really insightful.
Thank you for that. Tara, if you could also just add just anything else you want to share about what it was like participating in the summer program.
Sure. The insight that we got from the interns was just invaluable. We had different ideas coming in from someone on the outside, really. We improved our onboarding process. We totally redid our salary bands because they were able to see different things that we didn't catch. So it was really valuable to us. And the overall experience, it just makes you feel really good. You're helping someone and helping them launch their career, getting them connections. It's just a really good feel good moment. I have since left Surgical Notes and I have my own little startup now, and I'm seriously considering having interns, even though I don't have much income coming in. But it was just so great to have them there and have that support.
Thank you. Now I would love to hear from each of the students. The question I have is, what are some of these out of these conversations that you guys are having with the advisors? What are the most impactful in conversations that you've had an opportunity to have? And what you think a student should focus on to kind of like make sure you're set up best for success? And I'm just looking in the order of my screen. I see Hamani first, I see Cameron, and then I see Eric. If you guys can kind of respond in that order.
Yeah, so for all like to sum it up, I definitely know that any conversations that I've had with the advisor, like whether it be like 30 minutes or even an hour, I've definitely learned something from it. I've definitely took away something. And I've had conversations from my resume to like interview guide to like my career. And one of the biggest things that I've learned from CareerSpring and my advisors is to not limit what I think I want to do in the future. Like I mentioned before, I entered college with the thought that, oh, I want to go into psychology and like be a therapist. However, through speaking with my advisors, through speaking with many amazing mentors through CareerSpring, I learned that like whatever you enter college with, that's not your limit. Like you have so much potential, and CareerSpring really like broadened that variety for me. Like especially through like CareerSpring, I was able to obtain 2 internships last summer, and it was honestly gained like so much insight in what I want to do in the future. So any conversations I've had with my advisor, the main topic that I've always focused on is just what I want to do in the future. And it's always, 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 whether it be resume or any interview tips, I've always gained something from it. So it's sort of whatever path you want to go with the like advising talk. Like you could sort of, it's just basically up to the advisees and they will help you in every way possible, like beyond and above and beyond.
To second her point, I would say the main thing that has helped me is forming that lifelong connection. I would say I'm more of a hands-on learner, so I would say that I took a lot more from advisors where I was able to schedule like in-person visits. So for one person that I connected with who works at American Axle, I was able to schedule a facility visit, and that was like very new for me because I am used to just sitting behind the screen and kind of just making that connection or kind of having that email exchange. But I think for me, they were able to adapt to my learning style and was able to offer me the opportunity to tour the facility and kind of explain like a breakdown of what they do day to day, and potentially if I was to be hired, what that would look like for me. But I've also had some advisors who were just beneficial in terms of expanding my connection of my network. So, if they don't have an answer for me, they have another person that could possibly connect me with that person, as well as being in touch. Like I know I have one person who's like, keep applying to like certain roles, like certain companies. They knew I was interested in supply chain and kind of follow up with me within so many months to kind of see like where we're at. And just having that personal connection that maybe I've never met them in person, but just serving as that means of support for me and kind of directing me in some way, shape, or form has been very beneficial, because I know sometimes in college you don't always have that support. You don't know where to start. And having someone kind of say, like, this is the next step, or possibly considering other avenues outside of what I may have formed a fixed mindset to, has been very, very beneficial for me.
Yeah, I would also second that in terms of how instrumental CareerSpring has been for my professional journey. Coming in as a freshman, I didn't really know what I wanted to study. I really just didn't know about the different types of careers there were. Going into the business school, lots of freshmen already know exactly what they want to do, given the social capital or the financial capital they have. But I would say CareerSpring really leveled the field for me, or at least gave me great perspective in terms of the types of careers there were. And that eventually led to my involvement as a mentor in the business school. From the opportunities that CareerSpring has given to me personally and what I've seen it give to other people at the University of Michigan, it allowed me to land a venture capital private equity or association type of fellowship in Illinois, where I'm originally from. And that is an opportunity that, frankly, only a dozen or less kids get. And without the opportunity of CareerSpring, I would not have been able to get my foot in the door as a sophomore, given that I wouldn't have known what it was. And then going into my junior year, that internship that CareerSpring had set me up with and the mentors that I met on the platform eventually snowballed and landed me an internship as a junior starting in sophomore year. And that is an example of how transformative CareerSpring has been for me and many other people who are going into CareerSpring. As Michael had mentioned, there's a lot of advisors on CareerSpring who primarily focus in the financial sector. And my story is not limited to myself, but a testimony of how powerful the CareerSpring network can be.
Thank you guys. That was incredible. I think you answered like 2 or 3 of my questions all at once. I'm not mad at that. That was that was amazing. I would love to know just from each of the students, and you guys can kind of flow in the same order again, is what advice you would give to other students who are interested or maybe unsure, or if you're trying to say they're asking you about your experience, what would you let them know?
Something that I would advise other students is to don't be afraid to like take any steps that you think will be like, just don't be afraid, basically. Like this is your chance, I believe, is to truly make mistakes, because this one quote I always quote whenever I'm afraid of something is you have to be young and dumb to be old and wise. And I believe that that directly applies to like college specifically, because students are so nervous like entering college and trying new things. But I believe that especially CareerSpring, it opens the door to so many opportunities that you've never truly, you would be nervous to like step into it outside of the comfort zone. So I would say just go with your heart, like explore as much as you need to. Like this is your time to explore, and definitely use every resources that's out there. Definitely use CareerSpring, definitely use any form of resources that's there to help you, because everyone wants to help you. So just don't be afraid. Don't let your fear stop you from your true potential, because there's so much out in the world that you can truly achieve. You just have to let fear not control you.
I second that. I would say not being afraid to take risks, but I'm very big on networking. I feel like that's what you're going to hear me say a lot throughout of this, because I would say, coming from a minority background and being in a predominantly white scholarship house, to be completely honest with you, it's kind of hard to form those connections within different industries. And I would say CareerSpring did that for me. But it was because I had connected with Mr. Corey, and I had built that network with even just checking in, like saying, hey, like this is my grades for this semester, like just kind of building and keeping them to maintaining that rapport consistently has paid off for me, because I was able to gain my first internship my sophomore year of college at Ally Financial, and then also be a returning intern for the following year, which was one of my biggest experiences when I first reached out to them. I was like, I want to gain some internship experience, especially coming from Crystal Ray, where you are a part of this co-op system. I kind of wanted to start to build that up before it was too late, because college does go by very, very, very fast. So I was like, I'm a sophomore, are there any opportunities? And he was like, well, I'm a part of this program called CareerSpring. And lo and behold, I got an offer to Ally Financial in their HR department. And I returned a second year working in another department within HR. So I'm very appreciative. So networking is very, very important. It is your network.
To add on to that, we also invited our interns back. And we've stayed in touch with them and have offered to help them apply to other jobs and to help them in their career outside of the surgical note environment as well.
I agree in terms of that network is super essential. And what I typically tell people that I'm trying to onboard them on CareerSpring is a lot of them ask, well, why would they want to help? And I think that's a foreign thing that a lot of students are afraid of. And it's really just their entire life. If they don't know anyone in corporate and they're already scared to really take their foot into the door, really assuring them that these people want to help. Like if you've ever wanted to give back, that's a key note in what I see a lot of students who want to use CareerSpring. They end up really loving the platform because their entire life, they might not have that connections, that social capital that CareerSpring provides, especially the internships. Like, why is CareerSpring deciding to lend a reaching hand out? Or why are these advisors trying to help out me, who frankly, they don't know who I am? And that's one of the biggest advices that I typically give. Don't be afraid to reach out, to share your story, especially for people who want to help. And that really eliminates the barrier to entry for a lot of different careers and a lot of different opportunities for these first-gen low-income students.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing. As you guys all saw, Himani, she did make it to class on time, so she was able to step off, and we still were able to kind of hear some thoughts from her perspective as well. Before we kind of transition back into questions again, Tara, if you could just share any final advice you have for companies or students who are unsure about CareerSpring, similar to what Cameron and Eric shared.
Yeah, definitely. From the employer perspective, it's really easy. The Forward program as well, the CareerSpring team puts together some things to do outside of them working for your company, so you don't have to try to figure out how to get them to fill their entire day. So that was really nice. It was really structured schedule, so we knew what to expect. Signing up to be a mentor is super easy. Like Michael had said, you'll get a few every quarter. So that's an easy ask to join just a few of those. And like I was saying, it just feels really good at the end of the day to be able to help somebody out. From the student perspective, I think that they gained valuable insight. They were able to get those connections. They were all super eager to learn more, very enthusiastic. So I think it's a great group of students that get matched up with the employer. So I wouldn't worry if I was a student on who I'm getting matched up with and to where I'm going.
And Michael, last but certainly not least, if you could just kind of share any final thoughts you have before we open the floor for questions.
So first, it's always hard to follow the students, because they are so great. But talent wins. It's not an original thought, but whether you're a football team or your company, the team with the most talent is the team that's going to come out ahead. And it's gotten harder in the last month to really access some of that diverse talent. And CareerSpring can help solve that problem for companies. You saw for yourself what the students of CareerSpring are like today. I mean, I'm so proud of these three, but really not surprised by how they were today. So we're working with some great students. They need a little support. Organizations can help us with that support. They can make videos. They can become advisors. They can hire our students either through the Forward internship program or through their own internship programs or their entry levels. This is a way that our students win and your organization wins. So love to talk to people more about CareerSpring anytime.
Christy, if you could just let us know, I know you said you had been kind of corralling the questions together and kind of let our amazing presenters have an opportunity to respond.
Yeah, lots of good questions coming through. So I'm going to pick up where we left off before we transitioned. Do you partner with TRIO programs? It sounds like very aligned missions and goals. So do you work with TRIO or other, community-based organizations?
So, Chris, that's a great question. So we work with employer partners. We have employer partners, but we also have community partners. In Detroit, we're working with the Michigan Hispanic Collaborative. We're working with Detroit Regional Dollars for Scholars, other organizations like that. We also try to partner with colleges And typically one of our best ways in is with a trio program because they're working with the same students, they have the same goals. And the way I always view it when we talk to community partners, we want to be another tool in your toolbox. We're not trying to take over that relationship you have with the students. We just want to give you more tools to provide the students that you're working with.
Thank you. Another eligibility question, is the program only for students pursuing bachelor's degrees, or is it open to students pursuing all types of post-secondary education?
All types of post-secondary education. And I'll be honest, we start with students in high school. And so not all of those students go on to college. And so many times we have opportunities for them. They can still tap into the resources, but we're predominantly supporting students in college, whether it's undergraduate or graduate.
Thank you. Lots of questions about how to get involved. We have, I think, employers who are wanting to get involved as advisors. We've got some community partners who want to help promote and outreach to their students. So maybe when we wrap up, Michael, we can make sure we address next steps for folks and how to get plugged into this. But it seems like there's a lot of people who want to be partners in some way.
So it's going to be really simple. We're going to share with you my address, my email address, and I'm about to be your next best friend. And we'll talk about all the ways our organizations can work together. Look forward to that.
Excellent. I'm just going through. Oh, this is a good question. Are there specific jobs that you are lacking on your video library?
Yes, there are. I don't know them off the top of my head, but there are some that we have gaps in. As Eric mentioned, we're really good in terms of financials, but there's a lot of other careers that, and typically, I'll be honest, our students tend to have a pretty narrow perspective of all the career opportunities that are out there. So the more jobs we can inform them about, they might say, oh, that's exactly what I'm interested in. I didn't know that was a thing. So yeah, we're happy to share with those people, with anyone, areas that we're specifically looking for videos in. Yep.
Thank you. That's all the questions I see. I do see a note from Sharia at Henry Ford Health, just seconding Tara's perspective on the value of being a mentor. So thank you, Sharia, for sharing that. I think I covered all of the questions. We'll give it a couple more seconds to see if anything else comes through. Michael, maybe you can put your email in the chat and people can get that right now. We'll also follow up. This meeting is being recorded, so if you came in late and want to see the whole thing, or if you want to share this with colleagues, we will send out that recording to make sure that you're able to do that. And I will also include Michael's contact info in that follow-up so that you can reach out to him directly. I know he will be happy to talk with you and get you plugged into CareerSpring.
And I just want to add one thing. We haven't discussed this directly. A lot of times companies say, well, what's this all going to cost? We are a nonprofit. We do rely on the support of organizations, but if your company wants to make videos, if your company wants to provide advisors, if your company wants to put jobs on our site, help connect with our students, we do not charge anything for that. Now, we hope when you do your annual giving, you'll remember CareerSpring, but finances do not get in the way of you being able to support these students.
Speaking of students, I do also want to once again thank you, Cameron and Eric, and I know Honey had to step down. Just thank you so much for carving some time out to join us today. We really appreciate you guys being here.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Erin, any final thoughts from you?
I think being a part of conversations like this is awesome. I think there are in just the Metro Detroit area, we have a nice collection, I think, of mentoring organizations in some way or shape or form that are trying to do something. But I do appreciate whenever there's an opportunity that allows employers to kind of step in, that doesn't require too much of a process and too much of a commitment for them to still kind of get their feet wet. I think mentoring is something that everyone can do, no matter what career or industry that you're in. So it's just really refreshing and nice to hear this perspective of what you guys are trying to do. It's awesome.
Thanks for this great opportunity. Very, very grateful for that.
All right, I don't see any more questions, so I think we can wrap this up. Thank you to all of our panelists, especially our students. I don't work with students directly, so every time I get to hear from students, it just like brightens my day and makes me remember why we do this work. So thank you. I loved hearing your perspectives today. Like I said, we'll follow up with the webinar recording. We'll make sure you get Michael's contact information. He did put it in the chat. And we at the Chamber will continue to offer webinars like this one. I mentioned earlier, our job is to provide our businesses with the resources they need to support talent development and really help us get in front of students. So if you found this valuable, please reach out to me. We'd love to work with you more and get more resources in front of you to support your talent needs in the region. So thank you again. Have a great rest of your day, and you will hear from us soon through a follow-up. Thank you all.